All right, John, I guess we don't have to wait until July for Marvel to bring Thor Love and Thunder because our Thor brought the love and the Angel Bats, well, they brought the thunder. What an incredible game it was on Monday night. We're going to talk all about it. Angels pitch well and hit well, and so we're going to discuss because that's what we do. And then we're going to ask this question, which is an obvious question with an obvious answer, but we're going to ask it anyway. Are the Angels legit? John and I will discuss that. Plus, did Jhonathan Diaz pitch his way into the starting rotation? We'll give you our answers coming up. You're Locked On with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. If you're listening on the audio side, please rate and review the pod. And if you're watching on the video side, would you subscribe and click the bell to be notified every time a new episode hits?
What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining us for this edition of Locked On Angels. You got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Man, a history-making night at Angel Stadium between the back-to-back home runs from Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. Mike Trout now owns the all-time Angels at-home home run record, beating out your boy, Timmy Salmon, for that one. And Shohei hitting his first career grand slam here in the United States and in Japan.
Yep.
So first time ever. And, of course, Noah Syndergaard gets his 50th career win. What a night for the Halos. I got so excited that I accidentally tweeted, Shohei got his first career home run. And I got raked over the coals for that. So,
Elon, we need an edit button on Twitter. Could you please make that happen as your first decision as the owner? All right,
That's
go ahead,
correct.
John.
Yeah, I need that edit button in the absolute worst way, of course.
Yeah.
Man, that was just an historical night, Mike.
It was so much fun. And here's what I loved about it. We are coming into this game against the Rays, and we're really a very similar team, right? Our records were almost similar. We were 19-11. They were 18-11. Rays are a playoff team. We want to be a playoff team.
Right.
Rays had Joe Madden. We have Joe Madden. And so it was such a great series. And this is a series where I really felt like it was a prove yourself series, prove everybody wrong series, right? Like, are the Angels actually good? And they look good on Monday night. You mentioned Noah Syndergaard, 5 1/3 innings, 7 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 7 Ks, and a couple of key moments. That second inning, John, the Rays had runners at second and third with no outs.
Yeah.
Syndergaard pitched out of it.
He did. Yeah, that reminded me of Jared Weaver pitching out of a jam. He had there you go. He had runners on second and third and was able to strike out 2 and get that last ground out. So that was just incredible to see. What a dog. He's got the dog in him.
He's a pit bull, right? And so that fourth inning, Syndergaard does give up the home run, and it was 1-0 at that point. But then Walshamania comes up in the bottom of the fourth. 3-run home run to dead center field, man.
Yeah.
And those are the spots where good teams, they come through. And Walsh has been our guy lately to come through. And then the Angels weren't done. You already mentioned it. Trout hits a home run.
Right.
And he passes Tim Salmon for the most at the Big A. Is it still the Big A? Can we call it the Big A?
Of course we can call it the Big A.
Okay. And so he passes Tim Salmon for the most in the Big A. And he actually tied George Brett on the all-time home run list for tying him 371 home runs in his career. So that's a nice guy to tie with, right? And then Ohtani hits a home run, back-to-back home runs in that 6th inning. And that was, the stadium was electric. It was electric in my house. So I can't imagine what it was at the stadium. And then, of course, Shohei's first career grand slam home run in baseball. And you knew it was coming. You just knew that he was going to hit that ball out.
Right. Yeah. Poor Rays pitcher coming up to the majors for the very first time has to face Trout with the bases loaded, walks him, gives up Ohtani's first career Grand Slam. So
good luck, kid.
Hey, you know what? He's got a great story to tell from here on out. That's
He
for
does.
sure.
He does. By the way, have you seen the the home run hat that they've been wearing, the cowboy hat, which I want to say is a nod to Gene Autry. I think that they didn't actually know that they were giving Gene Autry a nod, but hey,
Right.
we're gonna say that it's a nod to Gene Autry. They're putting stickers on it now that represent each of the home runs and a couple
As
of
they
friends.
should.
Yeah, right? I mean, who doesn't like stickers? If they're scratch and sniff, that makes it even better, right?
Oh, I don't know. I don't want to smell those stickers.
They're gonna smell like Pirates of the Caribbean because it's in Anaheim near Disneyland, right?
There you go.
But they're gonna run out of room on that hat if they're gonna keep putting stickers on for how many home runs the Angels hit. They looked fantastic. And then you actually had a note. We were texting back and forth before the game about Noah Syndergaard on the mound and how he was handling the running game.
Yeah, he was easy to steal on earlier in this season, and Gooby on the broadcast made an excellent point just to talk about how he needs to hold the ball and how he just needs to give those runners a little bit longer of a look before he delivers. And the Rays love to run. They've been running a lot more this season, especially in recent weeks, and they could easily have taken advantage of Noah Syndergaard in that. And he did a great job of holding the ball just a little bit longer. And then let's talk about Chad Wallach, man. How about his first game on the team and coming up and stepping into that catcher role? And he's got a laser arm. He was trying to gun him down, and there was a couple of close plays at third and at second, and I don't think he got either one, but they were as close as they could get on his end. And then he gets his first career base hit as an Angel. And I like that guy. I think that for him to come in and catch Noah Syndergaard that way was just really incredible. And he stole a couple of strikes that were out of the zone. He was able to sneak them back in.
Yep.
And so I'm sign me up for Chad Wallach. I'm
Absolutely.
a Chad fan.
I like that
Wallach
he came
world.
in. He filled in really nice for Kurt Suzuki, and I think that it was an adequate, maybe even more than adequate fill-in for him because he actually did really, really well behind the plate. And it also looked like Syndergaard was kind of coaching him along the way. Like, hey kid, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to throw. And here's what we're going to do together. And I love that. And by the way, did you see that Syndergaard, he wouldn't even sit down when the Angels were batting. Like,
that's right.
That guy was ready to go. He was walking around with his glove. I love that. And Gubaza mentioned on the broadcast that has really influenced the Angels starting staff because they are learning from him on his off days, what to do in between innings and what pitches to throw. And I think that you're seeing his influence go beyond just being a pitcher this year. He's actually being a leader for that starting staff. And I love it.
Getting out of his own jam the way that he did was exactly the kind of thing a leader does. And he's proving to be the ace of the staff and to lead this team very, very well. And like I said, it reminded me of Weaver, not just because I like to talk about Weaver, but because of that grit to get through that inning and come out strong. And even when the Angels fell behind, his offense picked him up, and he seemed collected and cool. And he even came back out for the 6th inning.
Yep.
And it was the right time to pull him. And it was like, hey, you know what? That you had a good 5 1/3. Time to go. And he seemed okay with that. He would have wanted to go more, but it was just so great to see that performance for him. But man, we can't overstate this enough. Shohei Ohtani and what he's been able to do this season and last season. And for him to get his first and second home runs of the season at Angel Stadium was so electric. And to get that first career Grand Slam, man, it makes it difficult to talk about that question from yesterday's show about who's going to have the better career because him and Trout are just tearing it up. And honestly, I don't care who has the better career. I'm here for it, no matter.
Just keep being who they are, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Just keep being you, Shohei. Just keep being you, Mikey.
So that is just so good that we got to celebrate that. Now, today's game is going to be Reed Detmers, of course, our rookie starter versus a guy who's been around the league for a long, long time, Corey Kluber, and is actually, of course, having somewhat of a resurgence because he's on the Rays, and the Rays know how to make the what was it, the $6 million man that they put together back on that old TV show. That's
something
basically
like
that. That's what they've done with Corey Kluber.
They got the secret sauce there.
Exactly. So let's look at some stats before we get into the keys for today's game. Detmers went 4 2/3, 4 hits, 2 runs against the Red Sox. Did not get a decision. Corey Kluber's last start, 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, 0 runs, 7 Ks. He also did not get a decision, and that was against the A's, I believe.
Yeah.
Now, I think the key for a strong game here, Mike, is that Detmers needs to go 5. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I would love to even see him push it to 6 innings because I think
Yeah.
that having a strong starter in these games against the Rays is what we're going to need because our bullpen has proven to be really great, but we don't want to wear them out, and we need our starters to eat up some innings as a quality start, eat up some good innings, right? Not just fill in the innings, but eat it up and be able to get into the 5th, the 6th inning so that we cannot tax our bullpen in this series.
One last note, I think that it's worth mentioning that strong pitching is going to keep us in this series. This is the first kind of ultimate test. I know we played the Astros and we played a White Sox team that was getting hot, and now we're really playing a team, like you said, who's a lot like us and is definitely a playoff contender in the Rays. And so strong pitching is going to keep us in this game, and those bats can't go cold again. They got to stay hot like they did on Monday night and keep it rolling. So here's to a good game this afternoon, and hopefully Detmers can keep us in this game.
Coming up on Locked On Angels, we're going to talk about Jhonathan Diaz and ask the question, did he just pitch himself into the starting rotation? But first, Locked On Angels is brought to you by BetOnline. Check out betonline.net. It's your #1 source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and, of course, Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs to esports and more. Head to the website or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and actions. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. And now for your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast. You get recaps of MLB games with analysis from local experts, taking fans through the season like no other network. And it's free and available wherever you get your podcasts.
Okay, so I'm a little bit frustrated as an Angel fan, Mike.
Okay, tell me why.
Because everyone that I talk to about baseball and this team will say things like, oh, relax, it's only May. Oh, it's going to be a matter of time before the bottom falls out for the Angels like it always does. And I'm thinking, my patience of suffering through this team for the last 7 years is finally paying off.
Yeah.
So you and I are going to ask the question, are the Angels legit?
And then tell the naysayers, mind your biz.
Mind your business. That's all. Just mind your business.
Yeah.
So we want to keep our fan hearts in check because
we
you
do.
and I are fans, obviously. We do our best not to be homers, but we try to be reasonable in our expectations.
Sure.
But the Angels, according to the stats, and the stats don't lie, Shakira, the stats show that we are a legit. I got you good there. I like
you did.
that.
My name's Mike, not Shakira.
The stats don't lie. So let's look at some of the stats that we have accumulated so far this season. Why don't you take it away?
Okay, so we are second in the AL in SRS. Now, I had to look this up because it's a stat that is not talked about often, but it's actually a pretty incredible stat to let you know if your team is good. So this is the simple rating system, and it measures the number of runs per game that a team is better or worse than the average team, right? So we are 0.9 runs better than the average team in the AL. We only trail the New York Yankees right now.
And so they got the best record in baseball right now.
Yeah, they're doing great. So we are second in the AL. The rest of these numbers are MLB numbers. We're first in the majors in runs scored. We're fifth in the majors in on-base percentage, fourth in slugging, third in OPS, and we're tied for second in home runs. Now, we got these stats before Monday's game, so those numbers are going to go up because the Angels looked incredible.
And we're now #1 in home runs this season, thanks to last night. Because
hey, how about that?
Everybody got a home run last night.
Yeah, everybody did. And then we are 14th in ERA. Again, this was before Monday night's game, but that's huge for the Angels.
Oh, yeah.
And it shows how far they've come. And then we're 6th in the majors in WHIP.
From dead last is how far they've come last season.
Yeah. Here's some numbers, John, that I found really interesting. We have a .213 average against,
Okay.
285 on base plus slugging percentage. And then we have a 253 BABIP. So
BABIP. I love BABIP.
yeah, that's batted balls in play, and it measures how many times the defense turns balls in play into outs. And so that's actually a really good average, 253 for the Angels and for any major league team. So there's a lot of stats there, and it feels like the Angels are legit. What do you say, John?
I agree. And the ultimate test comes against teams like the Rays, like the Astros. So far, the season series with the Astros is split. And so far, it has been smooth sailing against the Rays. The Rays certainly didn't look like playoff contenders last night, but that had more to do with our offense and our solid pitching from Noah Syndergaard and Jimmy Herget and Ryan Tepera. Like, those guys really did a great job of locking it down, and we spent the money on pitching. Lord knows that we spent the money on pitching, and it's starting to show. And these guys are really coming through and proving that. And you have surprises wherever you look. You and I have said that we were uncertain about Michael Lorenzen and where he would end up in this rotation. And by all accounts, he has been a very good starter.
Yes.
Except for this last outing where, he didn't have his best stuff and it got him into a bit of trouble. But if you think about where we've been, it was not nearly as bad as some of the starters we've had in the past. Look,
Agreed.
I love Andrew Heaney. I think that he had been a great part of this team, but I am not sad or broken up about him giving up so many home runs. And then everyone saying, well, he's got the stuff, he's just got to figure it out. Like, we had that for 7 years.
Right.
And
we're all done.
And we're all done. And so now that we actually have guys who do have it figured out and have the stuff, you think about Syndergaard, he kept us in that game all last night. And that's been the narrative of this team, is even when the Angels have lost, it's been like 0-3, 1-4, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because our pitching is keeping us in this game. And I would think that if our bats didn't go cold for the time that they did, we would certainly have been more competitive and kept those games a lot closer. So all of that to say, I think that we have a real chance at being a legit team this season and getting to the playoffs. But we also have to look at what's ahead, because here's where things get tough. I got my notes over here. The end of May and the beginning of June. Look at this. We've got series against the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
So that'll be a tough one. The Phillies, I think, can be a winnable series. The way the Red Sox are playing, that could be a winnable series. But hopefully, well, I don't mean hopefully, they'll surely get hot and put it together at some point. They have too much talent on that team to not start winning games.
Sure.
And then the top other two teams in all of MLB besides us, the Mets and the Yankees.
The Yanks. Yep.
Those series are going to be tough, and those are the prove it series. But you know what I find funny, Mike? We always joke about this, how we struggle against the wimpy teams like the Orioles, how we lost that series to the Orioles. But then there's something about this team, especially when they were bad. And now that we're good, I love it even more. They step up against the tough teams, and they proved that last night against the Rays. So I think that we've got a tough road ahead, but I think that these Angels are legit. So what do you think about the Angels? Are they good in your eyes?
I think they're good. I think this team is legit. And again, not trying to be a homer, I just think that the stats prove that. And I think that the team dynamic has proven that.
That's a good point.
And can I tell you, I'm going to go outside of the box here for a moment.
Okay.
And here's why I think that they're a good team. When Ryan Tepera and his wife did the gender reveal, did you notice that the whole team was out on the field?
The whole team? Yeah, they did it at the stadium.
Yeah.
That was great.
And Tepera has been with this team, 2 months?
That's a good point.
You see how they're close. Like, they want to be in those moments together. And so I think that is a necessary component for this team to be legit and to be successful. I think from the stat perspective and on the field perspective, I think that they need to continue to be good by doing a couple of things. They got to decide who's playing left field.
Okay.
And if that's Juan Lagares, then great. We just need somebody who's going to play left field. If it's Marsh out there all the time, then great. Let's just make sure that that's the case. I think Walsh, we've said this over and over and over again, got to be at first base full time.
Oh, he proved that last night.
Yep.
He got a home run off a lefty.
Yep. And We got to have strong defense. We got to make sure that we get to every ball. We're not making errors and we're not making mistakes. That's what the Rays have done, and it's why the Rays have been successful.
That's why you can have guys batting 139 on the Rays in the lineup because they're playing solid defense. I had a thought last night watching the game. Andrew Velasquez is our Martin Maldonado for the Astros.
It's a good point.
Maldonado's in that lineup every day because he's the best catcher probably in baseball defensively. He can frame, he can gun guys out at second. He can keep people from stealing bags. That's what Velasquez does for us at short. Yeah, I know he doesn't have the best bat. He did hit a nice double last night. But if Velasquez's bat can't come around, at least we've got his solid glove. So I'm with you on that.
His defensive run saves is going to make up for his low batting average, right? That guy is so good in the field. And I think the last point for the Angels to be really good is one that all Angel fans can agree with. They got to stay healthy. If we stay healthy, this team is really, really good and really legit, and they're going to be in the playoffs by the end of the season.
So that means say your prayers, cross your fingers, your toes, and your eyes. And keep this Angels team healthy. I think all of baseball would agree with that.
Absolutely. Locked On Angels is brought to you by Rock Auto. With so many different makes and models of cars today, it can be nearly impossible to expect your local auto parts store to stock all the parts that you need. And then when you go in, you have intimidating questions like, is your Odyssey an LX or an EX? And the truth is I don't even know. I ask them to go out and take a look at it, right? And then if you actually answer correctly, you have to wait for the person behind the counter to find the parts on their computer, and they're choosing the brands that they want, not that you want. And you don't have to do that anymore. At rockauto.com, you have access to all the parts your car will ever need, from brake parts to tail lamps to motor oil, even carpet, which my daughter needs because she spilled Starbucks in her brand new car. We won't talk about that. RockAuto.com has it all. Here's the good news. Rock Auto is a family business. They're serving all the do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. And because they're family-owned, they understand budgets, which is why Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. So if you're working on your car, go to rockauto.com and you can see all the parts that are available for your car or your truck. And when you do, make sure you write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box, because that way they know that we sent you. John and I sent you. They have amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
Last segment for this episode, we need to talk about Jhonathan Diaz, Mike, because he had a great outing on Friday night in a spot start. And he's somebody that you and I have been excited about. We brought this up on the show before, that last summer we got invited to a Mariners game, or against the Mariners, I should say. And Jaime Barria started that game, got hurt, and then Diaz came in and pitched 8 incredible innings. He finished the game. And so that was basically a start. So he was somebody that you and I have had our eye on since then. But how did he do last Friday night?
So just to refresh our memories, 5 innings, 3 hits, 4 Ks, 3 walks, only 67 pitches. It was his second career win, easy for me to say, in his third career start. And here's what I loved about Diaz in that start. He looked unshakable, John. He just looked confident, and it wasn't even in that Friday game, but even the game that we were at, he looked like he owned the mound, like he's been there before.
You know, everybody's been talking about how he walked Juan Soto, and Juan Soto kind of gave him a little bit of a stare down. The next time Soto came up, Diaz struck him out, which was really awesome. And then he kind of gave him a little bit of a stare down, like, all right, I see you. And he said afterward, I really like the passion. I love stuff like that. I love those moments because we're both competitive people. And to me, that screams maturity. That screams experience. I know he hasn't had a lot of major league experience, but if you're able to handle yourself, I know Soto's young too, but if you're able to handle yourself against a guy like Soto, who's a World Series champion and has been around for a long time, so far. I mean, it's been a few years now. He's still very young, but he's been around the block. And you're not going to let a guy like that intimidate you. I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, absolutely. And he's not offended by that. He's not upset by that. He's like, that's part of the game. And that's what fires me up. And what I loved is that it didn't throw him at all. He wasn't overthrowing on the mound. He was pitching, right? And then the best part, did you see him blow bubbles?
Yes.
Right in the middle of like a tough inning, he's blowing bubbles, which tells me that he is calm, cool, and collected. So here's the question we're wrestling with, John. Did Jhonathan Diaz pitch himself into the rotation? And did he eliminate Suarez from the rotation? What are your thoughts?
I don't think that Diaz has pitched his way into the rotation in place of Suarez quite yet.
Okay.
And I say that because even though the Nationals have guys like Juan Soto and Nelson Cruz and Josh Bell, a tough lineup for sure. I know that the offense is their strong suit, not the Nationals pitching. But I think that you have to see Diaz against another tough team.
Okay.
I think that you need to see him against a team like the Rays. Now, I don't know if the Angels want to throw him to the Wolves right away and have him face those tough teams. But I think that if he's going to be a permanent part of this rotation, then he's going to need to come up against maybe a tougher team than the Nationals. And I think the next time we might see Diaz is this weekend because we have a doubleheader in Oakland against the A's.
Right.
And we'll be able to have a few extra players on the team because of that doubleheader. And I would not be surprised to see Jhonathan Diaz get a start against the A's. And I know the A's are probably on the level of a Nationals as well this season because they have lost most of their superstars, especially on the offensive side. So even if Diaz gets this start against the A's, I think that it's going to take one start against the Astros or the Yankees or the Rays. You know what I mean? I think that's what it's going to take to convince this Halo fan. But what do you think?
John, for the first time on Locked On Angels, I get to say it. I completely disagree with you. All right, so here's why. I think that you saw a strong, mature starting pitcher on Friday. And the thing that I appreciated, I'm going to go back to blowing bubbles. He's blowing bubbles on the mound when Suarez is on the mound looking at the dugout, waiting for Joe Maddon to take him out. I think that you see a different pitcher and a different mentality. I love Suarez. I just think that Suarez is not the pitcher that Diaz is. And I'd love to see Diaz pitch against a strong first place team. But I think these games that he's playing and pitching in are going to help him to be better. And quite honestly, I think he's going to be a great addition to that team. And so I think that he should get as many opportunities as he can based upon that last start. And I think that you're going to see he will be the starter against the A's, and you're going to see him actually perform really well. I think that he is a good pitcher, and I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised by him moving forward.
I mean, look, we've got Reed Detmers and Jose Suarez and Jhonathan Diaz as those number 5, number 6 type pitchers.
Yeah.
And that's a good problem to have.
Absolutely.
Because I could easily see Reed Detmers maybe needing some more time in AAA this season at some point. I don't wish that on him. I don't want to see that.
Sure.
But it is good to know that just like they did with Suarez, let's send them down. Let's give them a shot in the minors just to work on a few things. Throw only sliders. You know what I mean? How they do things in the minors, the whole game, and work on something. And if that needs to happen with Detmers, and like it's happened with Suarez, I'm glad that we have the ability to bring somebody up and plug them in the way that we have with Diaz. And I hope we do get to see him again this weekend. And as far as Suarez goes, man, I know what you're saying, but I love the swing and miss on his stuff. Like the whiff rate that he gets is incredible. And he got away from that. And the confidence went away. Like you said, he was looking at Maddon at the dugout, wondering when he was going to come pull him because he needed to be rescued. He needed a life preserver, right?
Yeah.
And you can't have that kind of mindset. And if he continues to have that mindset, then he is going to be replaced. But he needs to get back to being el demente and being confident
that was good.
And striking people out the way that he was last season. And so I'm hopeful that when the time does come for him to come back, that we'll see a different Jose Suarez moving forward. But again, I'll take I'll take Diaz. I'll
Sure.
take Suarez. I'll take
Sure.
any of these guys.
Yeah, sure. Well, listen, I'm going to be on the Diaz train, and I think he's going to pitch really well this weekend. And so we'll find out if I'm right and you're wrong. And typically, I'm usually right and you're wrong.
Well, if you need any more insight about who's right and who's wrong, or maybe you're trying to prove to your friends you're right about something about baseball and they're wrong, Mike, where should we send our listeners next?
Well, we're thankful that they make Locked On Angels their first listen, but make your second listen the Locked On MLB podcast hosted by Paul Francis Sullivan. He brings his unique perspective on major leagues past and present, and his podcast is free and available wherever you get podcasts.
And please call him Sully.
Please.
Gosh darn it. Well, thanks for joining us for this edition of Locked On Angels. Now, if you want to follow us on Twitter at Locked On Angels, you can do so by following us at Locked On Angels. And then if you want to follow Mike and I, you can reach us at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram, where you'll see all of my mistakes by saying Shohei hit his first career home run. That was
Shohei's first home run.
I was so excited. I couldn't help it. And of course, if you are not watching on YouTube, you can find us by searching Locked On Angels in the search bar, and you'll find our channel. You can subscribe and make sure you like the video and comment below, because we love interacting with our listeners. And Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow?
Tomorrow, we're going to talk about this question. Is Shohei more valuable as a hitter or a pitcher? John and I are going to debate that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
You're going to make me choose?
I'm going to make you choose. And you're going to choose wrong.
Probably. All right, y'all. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Angels. Thanks for joining us. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
And we'll see you right here tomorrow on Locked On Angels.